In something I read this week, the author commented on the gospel reading from Luke, focusing on turning the tables, so to speak. Jesus is in his hometown synagogue. There's a whole lot of love. The community has respect for him and welcomes Jesus. He's invited to read from the Torah and to offer a teaching on what was read. All spoke well of him and were amazed at his gracious words that came out of his mouth. It is all good. Jesus as teacher is accepted. Jesus as the potential Messiah is exciting. His hometown is proud. All is great until the tables turn, meaning that Jesus demands more of them than they are willing to give. How dare Jesus, a son of his hometown, do anything other than preach and teach what the elders in his hometown synagogue expect to hear? Something supportive, encouraging, hopeful, nothing that would require a change in lifestyle or worldview. The Gospel of Luke, near the beginning of the story, this reading is from chapter 4, advises readers that the content of the Gospel will continually make the inside reader uncomfortable. This episode in Jesus' hometown synagogue is a foretaste of the feast to come. Luke is warning the reader that Jesus, when explaining the law, will push what it means to be living one's faith to the edge of a cliff. Readers and hearers will be pushed, their boundaries and their margins moved. This day in the synagogue, by the stories Jesus chooses to tell, he's backhandedly reprimanding the listeners for not living God's covenant, for not having open hearts to listen to the word of the Lord from the prophets, and lacking the expectation to experience God in healing and miracle. They are admonished for failing to care for the widow and the sick in their midst, and for turning their intentions inward rather than being a beacon to the nations. My Oxford annotated RSV Bible notes for this passage read, "The hostile reaction comes in response to Jesus' reference to the Gentiles, not to his apparent messianic claims." Jesus' hometown is angry. The Bible says, filled with rage, because Jesus highlights God sending the prophets to a widow in Sidon, present-day Lebanon, who is miraculously fed through a severe famine, and the other to Naaman, a Syrian, whom God heals from leprosy. The people, filled with rage, because those they hate are included, are seen by God, are created and cared for through God's abundance. This disturbs them, but not that the one in their midst, one of their own, is claiming to be the Messiah. A CBC radio conversation from this past week centered on the rise of hate in the world and discussed a disturbing psychological space where a person or a group hates a group of others so much that they are willing to experience detrimental effects on themselves in order to witness the other suffer. An example is electing a leader who hates the other whom you hate, because they will make life very difficult for them, even though you know that you too may be negatively affected, but you take more pleasure in the suffering of the other than any consequences you will experience. This is a great focusing text to hear on annual meeting Sunday. Who are those we hate or pay no attention to? Where are the boundaries and margins of living our faith? Is Jesus demanding more of us than we are willing to give? What worldview, are we asked to turn upside down? What change of lifestyle is required of us? after taking the members of his hometown synagogue to the edge of the cliff. Jesus leaves them with their rage and the words he has spoken to continue to gnaw at their hearts. This is enough for one day. Jesus passes through them and is on his way.